Garrett Gilbert arrives over the summer, and you're not allowed to work out with him over the summer, but he came into your office and gave reports. Now that you've been working with him for about a week, how accurate were those reports that he gave you, and what are your initial impressions of him?
Well, actually, he's a pretty humble kid, so he was kind of tempering things as he was talking about how things were going in the summertime. You know, he said they were going good, they're going okay. So it's really, out here, he's much further along than I would have assumed he would have been. You know, it takes a while for people to get on the same page with this offense, and he's doing it rather rapidly. You know, kind of picking it up, knowing where people are, seeing things. He'll get better and better as we go along, but boy, for early on, he's quite a bit ahead of the game.
Have you seen anything from him, either good or bad, that you didn't expect based on those conversations in your office or the tape of him at Texas that you saw?
I think the good on him that, again, you know, it's not something you could even watch this sometimes because we couldn't watch it, is how accurate he is and how accurate he is down the field. You know, there are quarterbacks that are pretty accurate from 18 to 20 back to the line of scrimmage, but there are not a lot of them that were really consistently accurate down the field, and he's pretty doggone accurate down the field. And that's a pleasant surprise because that doesn't always happen, no matter how good they are. That's a good surprise.
Garrett has said, and some of his teammates have said, that he seems to have a really good grasp of the playbook in terms of knowing the plays, who's supposed to be where. But how would you assess his comfort level to the point that he and the receivers can make the same reads and adjustments while the ball's in motion?
I think, one, they're quite a bit along right now, but that's a good thing because what'll happen with that when they're kind of improving this quickly, they get sooner into being really demanding of themselves, and they have very high standards and very high expectations. Usually you got to go through a whole series of time before they even get to that point where they can be really specific, demanding, very high standards, very high expectations. He's going to get to that much, much quicker because he's picking up the offense so much faster. So they're already beginning to talk about, that painstaking attention to detail that we talk about. That real fine thing that makes the difference between a prolific offense and one that's just a good offense. So,
he's played for a lot of offenses, a lot of coaches in recent years, going back to high school and some of the coaching changes they had at Texas. Do you worry about mental overload for him, or does that ability to learn all these different offenses actually help him as he's learning your system?
I think for him it's helped him. I can't say that it would be that way for everybody, but for him it seems to have helped him. He has a good grasp of offense. He has a good grasp of the back end of defenses. He has a good sense of where things are. So when you start to explain to him what we're trying to do and how to look at the coverage, it's not foreign to him. And the game isn't too big for him. The game's not too fast for him. He already sees all those things. So it's been actually, for him, it's a positive, and it's worked to be a positive. I think it's part of his demeanor. He's pretty low key, and he kind of sees things as, I'll just get better the next time. He doesn't let things worry him. He doesn't get frustrated with things. He handles himself really well, which is a kid who's played in big places.
A lot of time during practice, whether it's just skeleton passing drills or 7-on-7 or even 11-on-11, you're out there right next to all the quarterbacks. What kind of sense do you get either from what you've seen or what teammates have told you about his command of the huddle and his ability to lead this offense of new guys to him?
Well, he's got a great command of the huddle, and he's got a really good early command of the offense. I think the other thing he's doing is that he's very naturally fit in as a leader off this field too, in the weight room and conditioning in the summertime. Just he has that maturity, and it's going to be, his maturity is going to be felt on the field with, like you say, huddle presence, but his maturity is also being felt off the field as one of the, because that's hard sometimes when kids come in new. They have to be careful how they handle their leadership. But he did it so seamlessly that it fit very well with the players, and they looked to him pretty early for leadership, and he provided it.
You have a new addition on your staff this year with Timmy Chang, who set all sorts of records for you at Hawaii. How does he help Garrett and the other quarterbacks as someone who's been there and played and succeeded in your system? What does he offer that maybe you or Coach Jones can't?
Well, I think what he does first is his credibility right off the bat when he comes in. We've got kids over here saying when he was throwing a little bit that they wanted the ball and they wanted him to autograph it so they could say that they caught a pass for Timmy Chang. So he's got instant credibility here, and I think that Timmy has a real good sense of what we did. He was in the office for a long time, 4 years plus 3 games, and he has a great sense of it. So when he's talking to kids and he's talking about where he would go and how he would see it, it comes from somebody that stood back there and did it for a long time and did it successfully. So, and I think he's got a great. His demeanor is great with the kids. He's easygoing. He fits real well with our group. It's just a real nice fit, and I'm really happy to be here, for him to be here. I've told him that on a number of occasions that it's so great for us and for me to have him with us. I so enjoyed having him in Hawaii. It's nice to have him back with us.
Gilbert has referred to himself as a freshman with 3 years of college experience because, yes, he's older and he's more mature, but he is new to this system. Do you envision tailoring or cutting back the playbook a little bit, at least at the beginning of the year, to allow him to catch up to everybody else?
I think there was an original thought of that, but as he goes along, the more he demonstrates that he has grasp of it, the more it's going to expand out. And it's kind of contingent upon how he's handling it. But I think there would be some logic to bringing it down a little bit and letting him grow in it. But at the same time, he's growing so rapidly that may not be as necessary as we might have thought.
Coach Jones said at Conference USA Media Day that Garrett comes in as the starter, and after a week or two, he's going to start getting maybe 80% of the snaps. How do you then help the other guys, Conner Preston, Garrett Krstich, continue their development when they're getting such a limited number of snaps in practice?
Well, they'll definitely get some rest. We're out here so long and we throw so many throws. I mean, this is the most throws they'll ever be in an offense to do. So even if you're getting 20, 30, 35%, whatever it is, whatever it ends up being, they're getting a ton of throws. Plus, we have a real strong thing here about getting mental reps. So you know what the play is. You're standing back there reading it as he's reading it. You're making the throws in your mind as he's making the throws. We look at film, very carefully as to every single thing that we're looking at, and they're all there. So, and they've been here for a year. Now granted, we got two quarterbacks that have never been in this offense, and two that were true freshmen last year. So they're on paper they look young, but I think they've all grown in the offseason, and Neal's growing very rapidly as a young kid. So they're moving along faster than most young groups who we've had in the past.
Have you and Coach Jones established a pecking order yet behind Garrett in terms of a backup?
And we're kind of seeing how that goes. I think Conner right now is taking some of the number 2 reps, and we're seeing how that goes. And I think right now that's not a focus of ours at this point in time. I think we're really just trying to get everybody on the same page, everybody up. Because to us, I think it's important that you have number 3 as ready to go as anybody. Because you get one season-ending injury, that guy has to be ready to go. That number 3 now becomes number 2, and he can't be the kind of guy that you put in the field and all you can do is hand the ball off. He's got to go out there and sling it, and he's got to be the center part of the offense like every other quarterback. So they all got to get ready, and they know that.
And you mentioned Neal Burcham. Several teammates have said they're pretty impressed with him getting a grasp of the offense as a freshman. He's got a pretty nice arm.
Yes.
Is he in the mix for a backup role, or would you prefer to definitely redshirt him as a freshman?
Ideally, you'd always like to do that, to let him grow a little bit. But his release point, how the ball comes out of his hand, his arm strength, how he's picking up the offense, he's going to be a really good quarterback. And he's another one we're just thrilled to have. He's a great kid. He is very demanding on himself, real young. He doesn't accept the fact that he just came in. So he's exactly the competitive kind of kid you want to have.